Hello and welcome to our service online. We're so glad that you can connect with us today. I know we're going to hear an amazing message. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. Make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. And let's get ready to hear this wonderful message.
Good to be together. Come on. Awesome. God is good. Hey, good to see your faces. Hi. Just want to say hi. Just look at you a little bit. Man, it's good to be together. December. I don't know how you started this year in 2021 in January, but I want to encourage you. It's not how you start, but how you finish. So maybe you didn't start on the right leg. You didn't start maybe pursuing Jesus like you should. Maybe it was really hard. Maybe it started with a lot of loss. Maybe you've gone through some stuff and in the middle of the year has been extremely challenging. But I will say this, that let's end it in Jesus. Let's end it giving everything we got. Amen. I'm going to preach a message to you today that I have entitled, When Panic Attacks. When Panic Attacks. And, I don't know if you've heard of this lady called Corrie ten Boom. Corrie ten Boom, she was a Dutch from Holland, Christian. And she lived during those years of World War II, where the Nazi regime, under Hitler, were taking Jews, the Jewish people, taking the Jews and putting them in concentration camps. Right? And it was a time where over 6 million Jews were slaughtered. And a time that we'll never, ever forget. But this lady, Corrie ten Boom, was a Christian. And she decided to hide these Jews in her home. She wrote a book called The Hiding Place. She would hide these Jews in her home. And I can only imagine, because at this time, what happened was she was thrown in a concentration camp. But this lady, when she said something that really impacted me, because I can imagine the knocking at the door and fearing and worrying for my life when someone was coming, because they may come and persecute me, attack me. And she said this: worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrows. It empties today of its strength. Worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrows. It empties today, what we're living right now, of its strength. And you see what she's saying here is worry will bankrupt today of its possibilities. And I'm talking to you because I think every one of us deal with worry. Worried about if I'm gonna get paid on time, worried if I can, make it through life, worried if that person's gonna love me, worried if I'm gonna be noticed, worried if God actually is gonna show up in my life. I don't know what worry you're battling with today, but she was talking about worry being a thief, stealing the joy in your life, stealing the peace in your life. Worry is not your friend. Can I tell you that? Somebody needs to hear that today, because you befriended worry. You live with worry. And this is what the Bible says. Philippians chapter 4. Maybe you're familiar with this verse. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Well, thank you, Paul, the writer of this, for your insight. Have you lost your mind? Don't worry about anything. That's cute. Does anyone read the Bible like me? Or are you all just super religious and awesome? I'm reading that and saying, have you read the news? Do you live in LA? Have you met the people I hang out with? Do you have to pay the kind of rent that I have to pay? Don't worry about anything. Are you aware of the anxiety and worry is the number one, or a common, I would say number one mental illness today in America? 1 out of 5 adults say that they deal with worry, I think more, and 1 out of 4 teenagers battle with anxiety. It's a reality. So in this room, those who would even go to the doctor about it, there's a handful. But I think all of us have measures of it, right? That's why it's in the Bible. That's why he's talking to us. Yet Paul, writing this, he is in, believe it or not, Philippians, in this moment, he's sitting in a cold and dark jail cell, imprisoned for preaching the gospel, awaiting his death because there's a death sentence on him. So he doesn't know if today is my day or tomorrow, or I don't know how much longer I'm going to live. Filled with worry. You think you write this because he's just this supernatural guy? That he lived in this level of faith that you and I will never attain? No. He's saying from the middle of this moment, I need to urgently tell whoever reads this, whoever hears these words, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. But I think we flipped it. We don't pray about anything and we worry about everything. Right? We don't pray about anything. Is it your first resort or is it your last? Oh, when something's going on in your life, do you think, I'm going to pray about it? Or do you go to Google? Or do you know, or what do you do when you're about to go through something? I'm going to ask a friend, or I'm going to call someone that maybe knows. It's the funniest thing, especially relationship advice. We usually get it from the bro that has never been actually successful in a relationship. Bro, I don't know. She doesn't like me. What should I do? And he's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe let's just drink a little bit about it and find another one. Like I'm getting advice from some guy who's not even faithful. But this is what we live in. And worry is like this rocking chair. Maybe you're wondering about this rocking chair. It's like a rocking chair. Why? Because when you worry, it's you live going back and forward. Back and forward. You're not going anywhere, right? Panic, that's what it will do to you. It keeps you in this place, but it's comfortable. It kind of feels kind of good sometimes, you know, and if I rock long enough, I rock myself to sleep. Worry will do that to you. Worry is like this motion of going back and forward, but I'm not actually going anywhere. I don't ever change. Bearing the same thing day after day, year after year, and I'm still the same. And I love the Passion Translation of this same verse. It says worry pulls you in different directions, up, down, side to side, back, forward, right? Just like this. That's what you and I deal with, these types of things. And therefore we become familiar and used to living this way. And we take steps forward for Jesus, and then worry, anxiety attacks from one side. And so we do what? We take a step back. And then we get excited because, man, on Sunday it was pretty good, you know, like I kind of got a little motivated. You know, I listened to that worship tune and it was like my jam. I knew it was the Lord. I knew he was thinking about me. And you're like, yeah. And you're worshiping Jesus and you're taking some steps forward, but then someone just cuts you off as you're getting to work, or someone you knew or you heard someone talk bad about you. And so then you just take a few steps back because now this panic or this anxiety has got a hold of you. And today I want to teach you, because this is something I'm learning in my personal life, how to transform your worry into worship, how to change your panic into prayer. When panic attacks, what do you do? And I'm not talking about necessarily those who really deal with what some of us are familiar with, panic attacks. And I know those well because I've seen them in my family. But I know that each one of us, and I'm a pretty calm guy, there are moments of panic. There are moments where you can't do anything about it and you don't know what to do. And so I want to talk about that today. And again, I'm going to read another translation of this verse in the Message. Look at how it writes. It says, instead of worrying, pray. Let petitions and praise shape your worries into prayer, letting God know your concerns. We all deal with worry. I'm trying to get this point across. But instead of worrying, Worry is there. I think this is what happens when we get to come to church and start following Jesus. We think fear is no more existent, or worry shouldn't come my way because I'm a believer. And then so when it does, we get disappointed. We think, where was God? I thought I'm not meant to deal with worry anymore. I thought, no, it's still there. It is still there, but what do you do in the face of it, in the midst of it? And so let your praise, it says here, shape. This is a good word. Shape your worries into prayers. It's like your ammunition. Devil, you can throw worry at me, but it's just going to make me worship. Let your anxiety become your reason to pray. That's different. When panic attacks, I'm going to actually fight back with prayer. I'm going to use this. When I feel panicked, when I feel worried, I'm actually going to worship. That is my indicator. I don't know if you're waiting for a moment. When should I worship? When should I pray? Let me tell you, it's a good moment when you're in worry moment to worship. When I'm in a panicking moment, what should I do? What do you do? Think about your own reaction. What do I do? Maybe you take something to calm yourself down. Maybe you go to someone in order to just feel okay. But he's saying, I want you to come to Jesus. It's worth it because read on Philippians 4, verse 6. Tell God what you need. Thank him for all he's done. And verse 7, then. Someone say, then. Then you will experience. So it's only then will you experience. I want God's peace. Okay, well, if you're going to know God's peace, you've got to understand when you're in a moment of worry what to do. So then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your heart and minds as you live in Christ. Therefore, instead of worrying, what do? I pray. And then I have access to peace. I want peace. I want peace. So what am I going to do? I'm just saying this over and over again because we got to get this. I got to pray. And I'm going to help us unpack this a little bit more because I think this four-letter word pray is intimidating. It sounds kind of religious, like, I don't know. Maybe it's for you, Pastor, that's what you do. You pray for us. But I don't know about you. I'm tired of just waiting for someone to pray for me. Leftover prayers. Hey, when you have a moment, just throw up a prayer. I love it when people tell me that. When you have a moment, I'm like, I don't got none. I got 2 kids. God does burden me with you. It's a beautiful burden, though. I pray for you. I think about you. I'm telling you, I could pray. Most of you I prayed for this morning. I have your names. You know, we take Connect cards. You think, what do you do with those Connect cards? Well, after posting them to Facebook and just revealing all of your information to everybody, joking, joke, disclaimer, I use those to pray. I'm praying for you, praying for your family, whether you write a prayer request or not, because I believe that prayer is what changes everything. And this peace, I want this peace too. And this is how we access it. How many of you love traffic? Romeo loves traffic, really. He's going to pray. He's going to be up here praying for you after. He's going. Look, most of us get anxious and angry in traffic, right? Why? Because we start thinking, I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late for my appointment. I'm going to miss it. I don't know. Again, you could be a pretty calm person, but something about traffic does it, right? Just a different personality comes out. You're just like, this is my grandpa. I don't know where that came from. This is crazy. It just brings all kinds of stuff out of you. And there was a period in my life when I was in a traveling band, and we would drive all over the country performing in venues in different places. And so as a result, of course, we spent a lot of time on the road. And we had a roadie. His name was Andy. Andy, I love this guy. And he was such a great friend. He would help us. He served us. He was amazing. And well, anytime we'd hit traffic, all of us would get freaked out because this was pre-GPS. Some of you don't even know what I'm talking about. Pre-GPS. You know, right now, every time you're about to go somewhere, you put it in, see how long it's going to take. And then you kind of navigate your way. Maybe I'll leave in an hour because I'll miss some traffic. Well, you didn't have that back then, right? I'm talking like back in the day, right? We had the Atlas. What was it called? Exactly, that's it. I mean, we had the big one because it was the country one. And so we had to, and we weren't just driving like to the next part of the city. It was from state to state. And so you had to really plan this out. So we get freaked out and you couldn't anticipate traffic. So when we would hit traffic, it would get a little heated in the van and we start saying some things and we get worried because that was our paycheck. We got to get to the concert. We got to get there. Now you make money off of different ways in music, but then you have to play the gig. And so we're getting worried, but this guy, Andy, without hesitation, anytime, and I'll tell you the truth, when we would hit traffic, he would just break out into prayer. You would hear him from wherever he was in the van, and he would just start saying, in Jesus' name, this traffic is going, and you're like, come on, man. I think that's what they said to Moses when they were up against the Red Sea, like, are you serious? This is really going to happen. And he would even extend his hands. And he would just begin to say, it's going to go right now. And then he would go even deeper. And he'd say, if there's an accident, if there's anyone in danger, I just pray for their lives right now, that you would be with them, you would protect them. And I'll tell you what, the atmosphere of that car would change every time. It would silence us. All the complaining, all the worrying, all of a sudden would change. Because a peace would come. And there was this one time where we were driving from New York to Boston. I'll never forget this life-changing moment. It was a snowstorm and we were driving. And so we pulled over for a day. We had 2 days to get there. And but we had to go. We couldn't wait it out anymore. And I was shotgun. I was co-piloting the whole operation again, pre-GPS. So I got my Atlas. I'm like, okay, this is where we're going to go. It's nighttime. We would drive through the night. And everyone's got their shoes off and they're comfortable and they're watching the movie because we built an entertainment system. We had our Xbox, and, you know, and so they were all kind of laying down. No one had their seatbelts on because you never did. It's just we traveled all the time. And I just decided to pray. Lord, I just pray for this trip. Would you be with us? And, you know, sometimes you throw up those prayers. And I just felt something inside of me say, put your seatbelt on. So thankfully I did. I put my seatbelt on. And minutes later, we hit black ice. And when we hit black ice, our trailer caught the ice and swung us off of the freeway. And we went flipping off into the side. And our trailer wrapped around a tree. And thankfully, actually, the trailer did that because we were hanging upside down. And everyone flew forward on top of me. And I was the only one hanging there because I had a seatbelt. And the driver, he got knocked out. So he was on top of me as well because we went towards me. And this was an insane moment because, you know, it went from blackout to silence, then to screaming. Like blood curdling screams because we had the drummer's wife with us. I think there were some boys screaming too. And then from out of nowhere, I just hear, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And I'm like, Andy? Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And that car, that van, again, was silenced in the worship of Jesus. Worry was no longer there. You can be in the middle of the worst moment of your life. You can be, everything was going fine. And you've maybe experienced this. It was good. Everything was good. And you hit black ice. And out of control, because when you're out of control, what do? You worry. You panic. When I'm in control, and many of you are controllers. Let's just tell the truth. We're in church. You like control. I want to control this. But when you feel out of control, we start to panic. And this declaration, that was all he said. And he didn't need to say anything more. And it was just Jesus, Jesus. Because you can't worry while you pray. You can't worry. Just try it. Try and worship. If it helps you, put on a worship song in a moment that is so stressful, so overwhelming, and just put it on full blast and sing along. And I tell you what, it's going to change the atmosphere of where you are. So when panic attacks, you got to pray. Instead of worrying, you got to worship. And I want to look at the life of Daniel, and Daniel chapter 6 is where I'm going to be the rest of the time with you today. Daniel chapter 6. So if you have a Bible, go there with me. And because this guy, he learned to pray in the middle of chaos, in the middle of the unknown. But I'm going to start with verse 3 to just give you a bit of context of Daniel. It says here, Daniel soon proved himself more capable than all the other administrators and high officers. Because of Daniel's great ability, the king made plans to place him over the entire empire. So we see here, just in that one verse, that everything was going well in Daniel's life. I mean, he had an important position. He had skills, right? That he was about to be promoted. He had favor where he was. And then it was like he hit black ice. And in those moments that no matter what you try and do, you're still out of control, because it says, as we read on in verse 4, all types of opposition and criticism start coming towards him. This is what it says in verse 4. Then the other administrators and high officers began searching for some fault in the way Daniel was holding or handling government affairs. But they couldn't find anything to criticize or condemn. He was faithful, always responsible, and completely trustworthy. Man, this is a good guy. This is a guy that you want on your team. But it says here that his enemies began to rise up against him. In this case, it was his co-workers. For some of us, it's our own family members. Some of us, you want to blame a lot of different things or people, but we have enemies in our life, right? Things that come up against us, and they started looking for ways to make him fall. These men were waiting for him to make a mistake, say something wrong, slip up. Imagine the pressure. Can you imagine this situation? Will you go there right now? Don't just hear a Bible story. I want you to go there right now. Think about your life, people coming against you, accusations, things that they think about you. Well, you got people actually rooting for you to fail. Have you ever had that? They actually want you to fall, right? And so, this guy, he's got all this pressure, anxiety, and worry he's carrying because everything he does is now under a microscope. This is stressful. And I know still some of you are thinking, okay, well, is worry really, can you be a Christian and worry? Yeah, because even Jesus worried. If you read about when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, it said that he sweat drops like blood. You don't do that when you're not worrying. He was worrying because of the weight and the burden that had been placed upon him. Can I handle this? And then he realized, in my strength, I cannot. And he prayed the famous prayer, not my will, not my way, but your will be done, right? Praying in the middle of panic. This situation is, this is how the devil works in our lives. They're invisible enemies, if you haven't realized, that come to try and oppress you. They're invisible enemies. The devil will assign demons. And I know that sounds creepy and scary, but it's a true reality. The devil is real and he doesn't like you. Invisible enemies that start to come against you. And when we worry, we take it in our own hands and we rely on our own strength. And as a result, this is what happens. We sit in a chair like this and we take it and we go back and forth in our worry, in our doubt, in our panic. And we think, I can't get out of this. And we take it in our own strength and we distance ourselves from God. We actually even push those who love us away from us. And if we look in verse 5, this is the conclusion. So they concluded, our only chance of finding grounds for accusing Daniel will be in his connection with the rules of his religion. In other words, his faith. his relationship with God. It's the only thing that we can get at. And this is not coincidental for me, because I see this even today, modern day, that we get attacked in our faith with Jesus. Well, isn't it funny that when you start to say, oh, you don't want to give my life to Jesus more, I want to serve him more, that your job all of a sudden demands more? Isn't that so strange? Like all of a sudden now your old friends that haven't been calling you start calling you again. That old girlfriend, that old boyfriend is like, hey, I was thinking about you. And you're like, no way. You waited until this moment. Did you just know? I just prayed a prayer. I get committed my... No. Right? They conclude, we're just going to attack his faith. We're going to work him on Sundays. We're going to occupy him or her so much that they can't pray. I feel so tired that I can't even pray. It's not that you don't want to, but I don't have the strength. Because the devil hates prayer. He hates it. And he's the one that's convinced us it's a religious act. He's the one that's told you it's boring, it's tedious, it's complicated. I'm telling you, when you get into a real prayer relationship with Jesus, it's amazing. It's crazy. When you start to see God's hand move and prayer is being answered, people being healed, your own life being transformed. Wow. It makes you and urges you into the prayer closet. Oh, we got to pray. And so, again, if you notice, it's really easy to spend like an hour talking on the phone with a friend. And then you try and spend a minute with Jesus and you're like, this is hard. Like, what is going on with me? I can talk to this person for so long about nothing. And yet when I come before God and I pray, like they told me to pray, but it's too hard. Or you start praying and you get distracted. Am I just telling my story today, or am I relating to somebody? You get distracted because you start thinking about something else. I'm a to-do list person. Any to-do list people out there? Okay, you're my people, right? So I mean, my mind is going. I could be at midnight and I'm like, where's my to-do list? Just so I don't forget that thing. You know, if you read my to-do list, you would laugh. It's like the weirdest things. Like, don't forget to buy the hook so that you can put up the curtain right there in the hallway over there so when people come in at church, they don't have to look at those things. I mean, that's on my to-do list. I'm telling you the truth. That was my to-do list. So look, or you remember that there's something else you need to do. And you'll always find a reason to pray later or pray another day. You'll always do it. And the devil knows that the moment you pray, your life will change and the spiritual world around you will begin to be affected. That's why even when you pray, hear me now, it sometimes gets harder. It even starts to get harder. Tests come, struggles begin to find you, and you think, hello, I just started worshiping. I just started praying. What is going on? It's because your prayer is affecting the spiritual atmosphere. You're waging war. What war was there no opposition? There is a war going on for your soul and your life. Let me tell you, friend, you were not born just for your career. You were not born just to get a bunch of accolades and to meet a few cool people. You were not born just to be a success here on the earth. There is more to life, and that's why you're desperately looking for it. That's why you're not satisfied. The more money you make, you feel like I need to make more. The more friends you seem to get, you think, I still haven't got the one. The relationship to relationship, it's just like this dissatisfaction because there's something etched in your DNA that says, I want a relationship with you, and I'm the only one that can satisfy you, and his name is Jesus. You know, the one prayer can change your destiny. One prayer can stop you going through the windshield. One prayer can be like a seatbelt that holds you in place while everybody else falls forward and you're hanging on just there because of one prayer. One prayer can give you strength to say no in the face of temptation. I don't know how I can do this, Lord. This is too hard. You feel like you're going to fall in your marriage. How am I going to do? That's when you pray. The devil will tell you it's just because you're a sinner. You can't worry. See, you worried again, or you panicked again, or you got anxious again. Yes, just like the greatest and the Hall of Faithers. Yes, but I've learned that when I worry, instead of it, I got to worship. And in the middle of panic, I pray. That's what I'm going to do. What did Daniel do? What did he do? Because if you continue reading, it says that the king actually signed a decree. He signed a decree saying if anyone prays to anyone but the king would be thrown into the lion's den. The lion's den. What did he do? Look at verse 10. Daniel 6, verse 10, but when Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he went home and he sat on his rocking chair and he thought, oh God, back, Lord, I knew that you weren't with me. I've been worshiping you. I've been praising you. Look, I've been here every single Sunday. I gave my tithes. Back, forth. Panic will just keep you, right? It's a prisoner in itself. Worrying, it doesn't empty tomorrow of its sorrows. It empties today of its strength. Don't worry about anything. Pray about everything. So we see here, he went upstairs. With its windows open toward Jerusalem, he prayed 3 times. How many times? 3 times a day, just as he had always done. I like that. Giving thanks to his God. Verse 11, then the officials went together to Daniel's house and found him praying. Do people find you praying? Parents, do your kids find you praying? They find you praying in your room? It's like mom and dad are just at it again. They're just arguing again. Or they find you praying. Your wife, your husband find you praying, or are you just working all the time? Do your friends find you praying? You know what? Listen, this is a reality, because prayer is what changes it. Because this is a moment right here we're reading about Daniel, that when panic becomes your platform to pray. It's your worry now that becomes my reason to worship. I have a reason more. This is my reason. What did he do? He kept praying. I think this is what he did. He went from this to this. My worry became, my position of worry became my platform for prayer. You got to get up off worry. Again, worry is going to be there. It rides to work with most of you. It sits with the CEO in the spa and the sauna. It will follow you into the relationship that you're in, and you can cross border lines and it will still be there. Worry is not just in Los Angeles. Well, maybe if I moved to Miami, Florida, and for the first 3 months, I was like, ooh, these people are cool, man. They're so chilled. After 3 months, it wore off. And then I realized, oh my God, I hate this place too. You know what I was really dealing with? Me. Moved to San Diego, same thing. Oh, this is awesome. Man, I love San Diego. They just love you. A few months into it, you're like, dealing with the same thing because it's right here. He kept praying as he always had done. Was Daniel worried? Because I think we can read this just as a Bible story. And we think he was just amazing. He was worried. Why? Because he was human. He was panicking, just like you and me. But he wasn't moved by it. That's the difference. Because he knew to pray instead of panic, worship instead of worry, and then you will experience peace. Some of you are waiting for peace so that then you can stop worrying. It doesn't work that way. Well, I just need some peace, so then I'll stop worrying about tomorrow. No, it's right now, right here. What do you do when panic attacks? I remember the moment the news of COVID-19 hit. I don't know where you were, but I remember where I was. I was in a meeting with a bunch of other pastors, and we were trying to figure out what we're going to do. And literally, in the middle of this meeting, it was in March of 2020, mid-March, we all got an email notification. For those who met in schools, and at that time we were meeting in a school in Long Beach, it said, "We regret to inform you that no longer will you be able to meet in the school indefinitely." I was panicking because we had just launched the church in January, 2 months before. I don't know what to do. What are we going to do? This is bigger than just, a Sunday meeting. This is our church. This is our family. And for me, we gave up everything to be here. I had no guarantees. I arrived to LA with my wife and my 2 kids. My little boy was 6 months at the time. No paycheck, no guarantees, nothing, no person, no people, just a dream and a call inside of my heart to say, we have got to do this. There's no negotiations. And I somehow convinced my baby girl, my wife. I convinced her, and she said, okay. And so when that announcement came, I thought, I maybe made a mistake. Maybe we made a mistake. What are we going to do? And so we decided to pray. And we called our core team at the time, and we said, listen, through Zoom, we're going to pray every single night for 1 hour from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Who's in? Well, 30 to 40 people started joining every single night through Zoom. And we were shocked. We thought it was just going to be the 2 of us. And 30 to 40 started, and even sometimes more every single night for 1 hour, and sometimes longer, we were praying. Because again, remember in the beginning of COVID, no one knew how long, maybe 2 weeks it's going to last, maybe 3. And after 21 days, we had a meeting together, and we said, why should we stop? So we continued every single night, 70 days straight, praying every single night, 1 hour through Zoom, and again, sometimes longer. And let me tell you that our church is here today because of those nights of prayer. Those prayers protected our lives, protected our families, protected our church, because we were just an embryonic church. We were just barely there. And through prayer, you're here today because of prayer. I am here today because of prayer. We've got to get it. I want you to understand that it's not just some religious thing. And you've heard me say it before, but my mom couldn't have kids. And through a prayer changed everything, that defied the medical odds, that no ovaries and no cycle doesn't mean you can't have babies. Prayer, we've got to pray. We've got to intensify our prayers more than ever before. But I'm good. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm telling you, you will hit black ice one of these times. I'm not prophesying anything bad over you. But you will hit moments. You will go through crisis, whether it's an emotional thing, whether it is physically, but you will for sure spiritually. Because there is a crisis on the earth today. Spiritual barrenness. We're disconnected from God. And why? Is because we've lost the heart of praying. Prayer is what connects us. Prayer is what unites us. Without prayer, your relationship with God is just religion. Look, Man is looking for methods, but God is looking for those who pray. Looking for methods, looking for ways, looking for things that we can do. And he's saying, I'm looking for someone who will pray, just like this guy. Today he's calling you. I don't know what your situation is, but there's something you can do about it. Pray. Don't post things anymore if you're not praying about it. Don't post things about the situations in our city and in our certain cultural groups and things like that if you're not on your knees and praying and fighting because nothing will change just marching the streets, I'll tell you that. Nothing will change just wearing a t-shirt. Nothing will change just us here right here. Start praying for your family that they would be here. If there's an empty chair next to you, start praying for your kids. Start praying for your spouse. Stop posting on social media things about being single. It makes you stay single. Start praying. When is the church going to pray? You know what they say I think it's so true. Sunday morning, if the church is full, well, it's because the church is popular. If Sunday night is full, if you have a service Sunday night, it's because the pastor is popular. But if the Friday night prayer meeting is full, it's because Jesus is popular. And unfortunately, in my generation, that's too hard to ask. How can you do Friday night prayer? That's when we party. That's when and it's a hard call. I understand. But I really believe if we're going to bring change, this is what it's going to take. And so we got to pray like our lives depended on it. It says in verse 16, Daniel 6:16. So the king gave orders for Daniel to be arrested and thrown into the den of lions. And the king said to him, may your God, whom you serve so faithfully, rescue you. Please don't just see this as a Bible story. I want you to see your life, because I know that Daniel was a person just like you, just like me. Imagine he's about to be thrown into a den of lions ready to devour him. He could hear the lions roaring, wanting to rip him apart. They had been starved without food for days. Provoke these lions so that when you dropped the prisoner in, they would just rip him apart. This was a normal form of torture in the Roman Empire. We would be ignorant to believe that Daniel was just calm and cool. Maybe you watched the movie and he's just like just drop me into the lions. I don't think so. I don't think Daniel was doing that. I think he was gripped with fear. I think he was trembling. How could you not? It was lions. You could be the toughest man on the planet. But as they lowered him closer and closer, I think he was probably choking on his tears, but surrounded by lions, Daniel did what he had always done. He prayed. He prayed. And we don't know what he exactly prayed. It doesn't say in chapter 10. But he was a man of the word. And so I think that he prayed a prayer that was authored by David. A prayer that has become famous. A prayer of protection. And I want you to take this and write this down. Psalm 91. Psalm 91. When you're in a moment of worry, when you're in a moment of insecurity, attack, when panic is at your front door, you need to take Psalm 91. And I share this about when my wife, when we lived in Florida, in fact, began to experience panic attacks. And if any of you have experienced them personally or been with someone that has, it is, you can't do anything. You feel powerless. Not only the person who is going through it, but even for someone who wants to help, you can't help. Her body would be completely limp, and she would be on the floor. It was terrifying because she was pregnant with our firstborn. And so it was so hard. And this Psalm 91 was what got us through. So I want to give you this Psalm 91. I'm going to read just about a few verses, but I'm going to end with this. Because it says in Psalm 91 verse 1, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Almighty is translated in Hebrew as El Shaddai. And El Shaddai means almighty, but it also means all sufficient or more than enough. So when Daniel is being lowered, I can imagine even in the fear and the trembling and the panic that he's saying, but Lord, those who dwell, those who live in your shelter with you will rest in the more than enough. In the Almighty, he says more than enough. And not every believer is going to be privileged to experience God as all enough, all sufficient. It's just the fact. You know why? Because all of us aren't willing. Not all of us are willing to get into that relationship with him, to get into a place like Daniel did and pray. Those who live close to God in prayer will receive so much more than those who just come and go. And I was thinking about to get into the shadow of somebody. If you're walking along and you know when the sun casts a shadow, you have to be close. To walk in the shadow, he says, I walk in the shadow of the Almighty. That means I walk right next to you. I walk right by you. I can't get further away. That's where my protection comes. And in verse 14 through 16, this is what it says. So beautiful. It's amazing. Life-changing. Because he has set his love upon me. Verse 14. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will. And I want you to see this. Verse 14. Because he has set his love upon, he's talking about the believer. Because the believer has set his love upon me, God is speaking. Therefore I will what? Deliver him. I will set him on high because he has known my name. He shall call upon me and I will answer him. Imagine Daniel right here. I will be with him, he says, in trouble. You promised I will deliver you and honor you. With long life, I will satisfy you and show you my salvation. I will is the strongest claim that we can make in the English language. I will. God says, I will, not I will maybe, or if I have time. No, I will. I will do it because I'm all sufficient. I'm El Shaddai. I'm almighty. I'm more than enough. Because you love me, I will. These things, I'm going to say them like in 10 seconds. So if you're writing, you better write. It says here and here, because you love me, I will deliver you. I will, number 2, answer you. What's number 3? I will be with you in trouble. Be with you. Look, notice he doesn't say you won't face trouble. Christian, you got to hear that because you think, but I'm with Jesus now. I'm not going to get troubled. Yes, in trouble, I will be with you. Or when you're in the lion's den, but listen, I will be your way out. Number 3, be with you in trouble because I'll be your way out. I will honor you. And I will give you long life. Number 5. And number 6, give you salvation. I just broke down those verses. Verse 14 through 16. Because you love me, I will. That is a strong statement. Because you love me, Lord, you will deliver me from trouble. You will deliver me from the hardship. You'll deliver me from this situation, this pain. You will answer me. You will be with me in trouble. You will honor me. You will give me long life and salvation. You'll give me freedom. You'll give me fire. Give me focus. Come on, man. Am I the only one excited about this? Because in the middle of your lion's den, you may not be in it today, but maybe tomorrow. Being lowered down, this is it right here. And this is what I close with. What happens in the end for Daniel is the king comes back and rolls away the stone, because actually the king, it says, that had a great relationship with him and said he wanted him to live. And out of the cave, out of the depths of the cave, this is what Daniel said. Verse 22, my God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths so that they would not hurt me. The king was overjoyed and ordered that Daniel be lifted from the den. Not a scratch was found on him. Because he had trusted in God. He shut the mouths of the lions because of what? Prayer. When panic attacks, pray. When worry comes, worship. This is how you fight your battle.
Wow, that was a wonderful message. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. If you want to know more about who we are, you can also check out our website. And we would love to see you here in person next week. It's from 10 a.m. It used to be 10:30, but we've changed the time to 10 a.m. So make sure that you're here on time. We want to see you. As a church, we also have a few cool things going on, something called prayer mornings, which is Tuesday in the morning at 6 a.m. Make sure that you connect. It is via Zoom. You can check out our link on the website. And we also have something called connect groups throughout the week. There's various ones so that you can stay connected with us throughout the week.